Greetings, my fellow Americans. This is H.J. Armstrong, citizen, scholar, saint. Today, I would like to discuss one of the lesser-known truths of modern history. Without a doubt, World War II is the most important event in human history. Its repercussions are felt even today, and it completely transformed the entire planet. In East Asia, the impact of the war is even more profoundly felt than in other areas. Some of the impact there comes from the atrocities committed by the Japanese. From the rape of Nanking to the Bataan Death March, the Japanese committed unspeakable acts which make the worst of the Eastern Front look quite tame. The biggest offender in all of this was Unit 371. Unit 731 was a ninja battalion formed in 1936, and its specialty was doing research into biological research. Using volunteers from the greater East Asian co-prosperity sphere, they experimented on Chinamen, even children. What passed for science among the Nips was having prisoners transmit syphilis to one another. Say what you will about the Nazis, but their science experiments were vastly superior. While the Nazis were making rockets and super tanks, the Japanese were trying to transmit monkey diseases from Thailand. The whole endeavor was deeply sick and shows that there was something profoundly wrong with the Japanese. Today, their sickness takes the form of vending machines selling panties, video game addiction, and other forms of degeneracy. Although they are damaging the cultural integrity of the Western world every single day and in every single way, from their inferior version of professional wrestling to tentacle porn, the Japs of today are still preferable to their ninja ancestors. Obviously, news of the atrocities committed by Unit 731 leaked out, and it was reported before the entire world. The Tokyo War Crimes Tribunal ran from early 1946 until late 1948, giving the many victims of Japanese bestial depravity an opportunity to expose what had happened. The inhuman experiments of Unit 731 surpassed anything done at Auschwitz. While a number of men who served in the unit were brought to justice, Japan was ultimately not punished for World War II. In fact, shamefully, the United States paid to rebuild the country. By the 1970s, American jobs were going to Japan, and yet, the Japanese never repaid America for its magnanimous aid. In lieu of monetary payment, of course, the Japanese have taken jobs, given us strange stuff that we didn't need, and sell us crappy compact cars. Have I mentioned that in addition to rebuilding the country for free and then giving them all of our jobs, we also protected them from Soviet and Chinese communism at our own expense? Side note, we need to very seriously revise our relationship with Japan. They need to actually provide us with something of value and to stop being a burden on America and the civilized world. China was divided between Chiang Kai-shek's nationalists and Mao Zedong's communists at the time of the trials. Further, they were now junior allies of the Soviet Union, at least once the US failed to defeat Mao. Since 1948, China has been a communist hellscape. Much of what they do has been incomprehensible, inhuman, and altogether awful. But they had a legitimate grievance against America's most pampered ally. They wanted revenge, and they had to wait. China realized that they would be isolated in the world if they didn't engage in trade. This would also give them the opportunity to compete with the Japs, since they could not invade Japan with the US fleet ruling the Pacific. To make things right and advance communism, China built up its economy to be a major power in the world. Japan, buoyed by American taxpayers, developed very quickly and became richer than ever before in its history. Most Japanese people embraced this new identity as a technological and economic powerhouse. In fact, many young Nips came to be almost entirely unaware of the imperial past. Men turned in their ninja swords and battleships for business suits and Sony Walkmans. However, China demanded that justice be doled out. The international court had not been hard enough for China's satisfaction. So, they took things into their own hands. When the United States abandoned the gold standard in the 1970s, China began to hoard gold. With the world's greatest gold reserves, the Chinese Communist Party made itself the arbiter of currency exchange rates. For the most part, Japan was still doing well in the 1970s and China was not able to gain its revenge within Mao Zedong's lifetime. He died fearing that his successors would be too soft to get the job done. In Japan, the 1980s saw the emergence of a bubble economy. Things were fast and furious and the economy grew rapidly. It was party central. Japan was doing so well in fact that some of its leaders began to confidently predict that Tokyo would be the new financial capital of the world, using America as a farm and Europe as a boutique. The future looked set to be Asiatic, but dominated by Japan rather than by the Chinese Communist Party. Putting ideology above race, the Communists decided to sabotage Japan, even though it meant delaying the rise of Asia and fall of the West. The bubble burst in 1990 due mostly to Chinese currency manipulation. In China, the one-child policy helped to limit their growth, but they also helped to limit Japan's population, which led to economic stagnation. Japan had only 1% growth from 1990 until the 2010s. Once Japan was down, China kept pressing. To this day, Japan has not fully recovered the prosperity and verve of the bubble era, nor will it. There are three potential dangers, of course. One is that Japan will respond to this Chinese punishment by remilitarizing and doing unspeakable things yet again. A second danger is that in addition to their weakened culture and men, Japan's continued poverty will make them incapable of contributing anything to the defense of Asia against Chinese communism. The third danger, of course, is that China will be able to sabotage other economies. I strongly suspect, but have not yet been able to prove, that China has been deliberately slowing down the growth of the United States. Given our country's greatness, our natural resources, and our ingenuity, it does require some explaining as to how we have stagnated. While most of the blame must go to the quasi-communist policies that many politicians, mostly the Clintons, Obama, and Biden, have inflicted on us, it does stand to reason that this has been in conjunction with Chinese sabotage. We must remain vigilant and make sure that what happened to Japan does not happen to us. After all, we had no Unit 371 and we were the heroes and winners of World War II. We deserve more than the Japs and the Chinamen combined.